guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to it. Today's video we are doing this very trended tag challenge that's going on in booktube that I have seen everywhere, and I've wanted to join in, so I thought why not. So today we are doing the mid-year freakout tag. There are 13 questions. They were very hard just to pick one book. I was very good to do so, nearly. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I've seen it everywhere. I love everyone's answers to it, and I like the fact that my answers are quite different. And yeah, I'm really excited to do this video. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Mid-year freakout tag. There are 13 questions, which I will put in the description box below if you would like to do this as well. And yeah, they were very hard. They are good questions, but they were hard. It took me all night to think of the books. I kept changing my mind, but I figured them out. A couple I have put 2 books because, you know, I can't pick one, but I managed to pick one in most of them, so I'm proud of myself. But let's get straight into the questions. And the first question is best book I've read so far this year, and I have picked In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. Love this book. It is off the charts. I have literally just read it a couple of weeks ago. I am still shook by this book. It is nothing I've read in any other fantasy books. This is very original, and I just love this so much. I've literally non-stop talked about how amazing this book is. I keep recommending it to everyone. I read this for 2 different reasons. I read it because it was Fraser and Gay's book club pick for June, and I also had this as one of my books from the prompts in Whatever You Want a Fawn, and I also did a buddy read with a couple of Whatever You Want a Fawn members who are participating, and we did a buddy read of this. It's quite interesting to see everyone's reactions to this, because in my buddy group everyone loves this book. There's not been a single bad comment about this as of yet. But in Fraser and Gay's Discord chat, not everyone's loving this book, and I have secretly screamed at them and cried because I can't understand why they don't like this book, and I'm pissed off that they don't like this book, because this is probably my most favourite book out of fantasy that I read so far. And you know me, I love anything by Sarah J Maas. Like, I loved Throne of Glass, which is still up there. You know, I loved A Court of Silver Flames, that's still up there. I absolutely love 6 of Crows, Shadow and Bone. A lot of my fantasy books have all been 5 stars, or if not 4 stars. They've never been very, very low. But this, it's just stuck in my head. Like, I know it's been a couple of weeks of reading it, so it could be why, but it's just, I went through emotions like hell. I was up and down like a yo-yo. I was screaming. I was shouting, what the fuck? I got quite upset. I was shouting because some characters die in this that I did not expect nor want. But what I love about this book is a few reasons. First is we have 3 characters, well 4, but 3 characters that have queer rep. So our main protagonist, she is pansexual, and just love that she was in love with both a female and a male, and how that worked out in this book was just fascinating. And I have not read a single book that has pansexual rep in, so yay to that. And we've also got a lesbian princess, which again, yay to that, because she's a princess, she's royalty. The fact that she's a lesbian, which is a big no-no to the royalty, I was like, yes, here for it. I wish we had a bit more of Lydia's character, especially, yeah, I wanted a bit more of Lydia's character, but I think we will in the next book. And then we've got the other side character who's non-binary, again, not read any books that I've got on my shelves that have non-binary rep, and I absolutely loved their character, because there was like a whole like good few pages of this character's like what they feel about themselves, about like other people, whether they like boys or girls. And again, it went really in depth with this character particularly, and it opened my eyes a bit more, because I didn't fully understand that. But I just loved the queer rep in this. Like, before anything, there was so much queer rep in here, and I was like, yes, you know, we need it in pretty much every book. Why should we just have straight white characters? And then the fantasy side of this is completely different to every other fantasy I read. I would say this is a very good starter fantasy for people, because it's not full-blown magic. Like, it's not heavy. There was like only one particular magic, so it pretty much was about blood mages, and like they could control, like they had like blood, it's like blood magic in some ways, and they can do all these things. But there was also vampires, a different kind of vampires though, and then we also had like these ghosts or wraiths. I don't really know what you could call them. I would say they're more like ghost guards. But that was like the main fantasy side of things. We had a lot of politics as well, which I'm not always into, but the politics in this I thought was brilliant. It wasn't too heavy, but it was sort of there. It was enough for me personally. And this had a lot about gods and goddesses, and about the gods of the underworld specifically. Well, I just loved everything about this book. I recommend it to everyone. This is definitely going to be reread so many times, because I never annotated or tabbed it, so I do want to do a reread at some point so I can do just that, because there was so many stuff that I loved about this book that I just need to. So that's that. Then question 2 is best sequel you've read so far this year, and I have had to go with, oh, my books are all going to fall, yeah. I have to go with Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout, purely because I love From Blood and Ash series, I love it. But this book, so much happened. I think there was more character development, especially between Poppy and Hawke. The relationship, well, the romance wasn't really a relationship so much at that point. The romance was hot and very steamy. This is a chunky book, and it did not take me long to read. I think I read this in a day, maybe a day and a half. It was so easy to read, because it's more character development. It wasn't so much about Poppy being a maiden now, it was more about Poppy outside of the maiden. She was outside of the royal castle thing. It's just, to me, it was the character development. We got introduced to lots of characters, and it wasn't like too info dumping this time round, and it's just, I think you got to know more of the two main characters, Poppy and Hawke, but also the side characters. And I'm not gonna lie, I love Kieran. I love Kieran in this, and I specifically loved Kieran in the third book as well, because we got a lot more of Kieran's character. But definitely this, because it is a favourite series, and it's just steamy. You got fantasy, you got vampires, you got werewolves, you got politics, you've got gods and goddesses, but you've also got an extremely steamy romance, which is, to me, even more steamier than what A Call to Silver Flames was. That's what I think. Then we have new release I haven't read yet, and I'm going with the book that I've just recently got this weekend, which I am very excited to read. It's Blade of Secrets by Trisha Levenseller. This is sort of about it's about a character who prefers metal to people. I think it's got autistic rep in here, and basically she spends all her days tucked up in this little special forge. She's got social anxiety, and she uses her magical gifts to craft unique weapons, which are like for the royals and all of that. I don't really know the full in-depth of this, but I just love the sound of this. It's not a big book, but it's a beautiful book because you've got the like sort of weapons, the stuff she uses to make all the weapons, and then we've got this beautiful foiled embossed spine. I'm really excited to read this. I think this is going to be a book that, even though it's short, it's going to be jammed packed with everything. And like I said, it's got possibly autism rep. I know it's got social anxiety rep, which I have. So we like this. So yeah, that is the most anticipated release I really want to read, which I hopefully will do for this year. Then we have new releases that I haven't read yet. No, that was wrong. That was number 3. New releases I haven't read yet, which was what I just did. Lennett's most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And for that, I will have 3. We've got Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury. Can't remember what this is about, but I saw someone have an art or someone mentioned about it. I can't remember, but I loved the cover because it was beautiful and I loved the sound of it. I think this is out in August. And next we have The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik, which is the second book in the I can't remember what it's called, the Schoolmancer duo thing. It's the second book of that, and that's out in October. I love the first book. It was Dark Academia vibes, monsters, powers. Thought it was brilliant, so I'm very excited for this. And then last we have A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is the Fire and Flesh series, which sort of kind of ties in with From Blood and Ash, but not the same characters as different characters, but it's sort of to do about what's gone on there, but it's like separate characters, and that again is out in October. I'm very excited for this, and the cover is amazing. And then we are going to the biggest disappointment, which I haven't got a book for. No, I haven't. The biggest disappointment, which I did give a rating of maybe 1 or 2, but personally I really should have DNF'd it, and that is The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakayik. I'm sorry if I've said that wrong. Not going to go into why I didn't like it. I just did not like it. That I wasted about 2-3 hours of reading that on my Kindle, and I thought it was pants, and I don't know why a lot of people like it. A lot of people did say to me I needed to read the whole series because the second and third books made more sense than the first, but I was like, nah, I'm not even going to put myself through it. I'm not even going to try and give it a chance. I just didn't like it. So yeah, big disappointment. Then it's Biggest Surprise, and I've got a couple. So first up is Carrie by Stephen King. It's my first ever Stephen King book, and I was surprised at how much I liked his writing. I don't know whether it's purely because I do know the storyline of Carrie. It could be that, because I have watched the movie, but I was surprised at how much I like Stephen King's writing, and because I've never read a single Stephen King book up until then, I was a little bit nervous because I wasn't sure whether I'd like it, but I do like it. It's not too info dumping, but I think there's enough, and he does certainly know how to captivate you. I haven't read any more Stephen King books from Carrie, so I can't make a judgment. I know some of his work's better than others, but yeah, he surprised me. And then another book that surprised me is The Crossing by Manjeet Mann. This basically is in verse, and I've never read a book in verse, and that's what surprised me, how much I loved it. So we've got like little verses here. It's completely through the book, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to read it, because I kind of felt like, how was it going to flow and all that. Like, I kind of suppose in my head sort of was like, it's poems, like it's going to just be little short poems to make one big book, and that wasn't the case. Love this book for so many reasons. It's about slaves, is about people trying to get out of their horrible where they live to go into the UK. There's so much. This made me cry, which we'll go into another question in a minute, but I thoroughly loved this, and just purely because I was so shocked at how easy it is to read a book in verse, and it's become a favourite thing because I have since bought a couple of other books that are in verse. Also surprised by The Girl from the Well by Rin Chupeco. This is sort of a YA ghost horror story, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It wasn't too creepy for me, but enough. But I enjoyed the Japanese culture, which up until this book I hadn't read a lot of, and just everything about this book surprised me, and it was a 5-star read for me, and I love it. And I've got The Suffering, which is the second book to this, that I need to read and really want to read. But yeah, this surprised me. Then we've got favourite new author, either debut or new to me, and I am going to go with, obviously, Jennifer L. Armentrout is one, and so is A.M. Strickland, because I do love both of them, but I'm going to go with Rin Chupeco. So this is the first book I actually read of hers, which is a YA fantasy, and then after I read that I did read this. So, but I just love the way she writes. Like, her books are YA, so the fantasy wise they're a lot easier, but she writes so beautifully. She captivates you in. She manages to put so many breadcrumbs in a book without you working out what's going to happen, and then she just drops so many twists. You're like, what? And when just you think you know what's going to happen, boom, something changes and it's definitely what you thought it was. But yeah, she's certainly an author that I definitely want to read more of. I have put a lot of her books on my wish list now to eventually get. But yeah, she's definitely a new author that I have begun to start loving, and I think she could possibly be an auto buyer as well. Then we've got newest fictional crush. So we have many, but we're going with two. Kaz from Six of Crows. I'm not even going to tell you why, because I think we all know why. I read this like about a week ago. Loved it. 5 stars. Loved it. Love Grisha first, but Kaz, oh my god. Like, he's twisted. He's a full-on bad boy in my opinion. He is so sarcastic and he's very cold. I just love everything about him. I want to marry him. And then there's a theme. Then there's Kaz, or Castile, from Blood and Ash series. I'm just going to pick this because this was the easiest one that was in my reach. But I love him. He's gorgeous. He's sexy. He really knows how to pleasure a woman. And I just love everything about Castile. I just think he is amazing, beautiful. He's got that bad boy image, but he's not. He's just the way he is with Poppy. I just am swooning, and I want to be Poppy just so I can have him in my life. Just saying. Then we've got newest favourite character. Now I have loads, like Poppy. I have Poppy. I really like our main character in Children of Blood and Bone. I really liked Zeely. I really like this shit near me. No, it's not near me. Where is it? Oh, I really liked the character that was in I can't remember what it's called now. There was another character in a book that I just recently read that I really liked her. But just to pick one book, it's gonna be Selena Sardofian from Throne of Glass. I know this isn't Throne of Glass, it's Crown of Midnight, but still. She's a badass. I love her. She's sarky. She loves pretty things. She absolutely can kill people brilliantly in a dress. She's nuts. I love her. I love the fact that she absolutely loves books. Like, come on. We need a character in a book who's obsessed with books like we do. She's a badass. She's quirky. She's sarcastic. The banter she gives out is brilliant. I also like that she's a pretty damn girly girl. Yeah, she pretty much is like a bloke when it comes to fighting and all that. She's just amazing. I love her. I want to be her. And she's beautiful. She's beautiful. So yeah. Then the book that made me cry. So the Crossing, I blubbed. There is a blog which I'll put in the description of me blubbering my head off. That made me bawl my eyes out because I did not expect the ending. I didn't expect it. Didn't like that. I was gutted. But I'm also going to say Heartstopper Volume 4 purely because of what's going on with Charlie with his mental health. Yeah?
The internet's going to
No, Charlie, mental health, his eating disorder, it really rang true with me and what went on with me when I was his age, and I did cry. Not all the way through the book, but the bits that were emotional, I did cry. But this is also quite a happy book at the same time. It was like emotional book because the stuff that Charlie's going through, I went through when I was his age, and it just really hit home for me of how I felt and like how everyone around me felt me going through this as well. But it was also quite a happy-go-lucky book too. And then carrying on from that, a book that made you happy, and I got two, which kind of is a series, but they're both together, so I'm just gonna do. But Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Actual Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. Obviously I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown in 2020, so it's not in here, but the Brown sisters, they make me happy. They do. They're funny, they're beautiful, they're quirky, they they are those people, they don't back down. And if someone's done something bad, they call them out. I love them. I love them. The whole series has made me smile, it's made me laugh, it's made me go, ooh, I felt all fuzzy and warm, and I think Talia Hibbert is a auto-buyer in regards to romance, as well as Heidi Swain. I have read a lot of Heidi Swain books, mainly the Christmas ones, and I did read A Taste of Home for read along, which again I would put in this thing, but I just don't know where the books are. But yeah, I think Talia Hibbert and Heidi Swain in regards to romance are my auto buyers, because their books they just make my heart swell. I'm constantly smiling, and they're just the perfect pick-me-up books in my opinion. And it says the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or I've received, and I got two because they're both beautiful. So the first one is my Fairy Loot edition of The Prison Healer. I am currently reading this, but we have our two sort of main characters. Just look how beautiful it is. And we've obviously got a locking sprayed edge there, and then we've got purple sprayed edges. I just love this. The artwork on the dust jacket as well is beautiful. I don't know where that is, somewhere, but the dust jacket and that is beautiful. All of my Fairy Loot editions, to be fair, are beautiful, but I can't show you all of them because I got quite a few. But then another one, which is what I recently got. So I've got the Nature of Witches. It looks like this. It's not that pretty, but if you take it out of its dust jacket, underneath it, all naked, it's these beautiful flowers and butterflies. It's beautiful. It's a fantasy, and it's about witches, and it just looks so beautiful. Obviously it's to do with nature, so it makes sense why there is nature stuff on there, but I just think it was beautiful, and it's a book that I bought and didn't expect to have that underneath the dust jacket. And then the last question and the last book to share, even though I've got loads, but I'm just going to show you one, is what books do I need to read by the end of the year? I have loads. I've got the Lunar Chronicles series that I want to read, Throne of Glass I said I wanted to read, Shadow and Bone I wanted to read, Serpent and Dove, We Hunt the Flame, the rest of A Number in the Ashes to read, A Dark Shader of Magic, that series to read. I have a lot of series that I wanted to at least start, but yeah, they're all that. I think I've got a video that has my most anticipated reads of 2021, which I'll link down before, which tells you all the books. But the one I really do want to read for this year is also the book I'm so scared to, is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It's a big baby, but this is the first book I ever bought from my independent bookstore at Books on the Hill. It was the first book the owner, Alistair, recommended to me when I told him I loved fantasy, and he said, Liz, he said it's got dragons, which he loved. He just says it's a fantastic book and it's packed full of a punch. The only reason I keep putting off reading this is because it's over 800 pages and it's big, and I think it will either be one that I can fly through or one that will take me a while. But I really do want to read this because I have heard nothing but good things about this book. And I do have another book by Samantha Shannon, which is The Bone Season, which is just over there, which I want to read, but I kind of feel like I want to read this first because this is a standalone fantasy, and I feel like, you know, read a standalone fantasy first. I can get used to writing, because it's pointless me starting a series because I have to buy the rest of the series, because that's what I'm like. I read the book and then I need to read the rest of the series, even if I don't like it really. But yeah, so I'm going to go with that because I really do want to read it. I'm just so scared to because it's a big baby. And yeah, so that are all the books that I picked for the mid-year freakout tag. If you're watching this, do your own tag. Do your own tag of this. Answer the questions and choose your picks, because I absolutely love watching people do book recommendations, because majority of the time, if you're selling the book really well, I will put them on my wish list. Even if it's not a genre I will usually pick. If it sounds good and you're selling it to me, I'm like, I'm going to add that on my wish list. So yeah, if you're watching this, then please take part. I will have the questions down in the description box so you can copy them. But on that note, thank you for watching this tag video. If you read any of the books that I've mentioned, let me know, or if there are any books you recommend to me to read for this year, for the rest of the 6 months of this year, then please let me know too. And thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.